Iowa State had its ending press conference from spring football yesterday is the way I would put it. And over the last week, this is happening all over the country. These names are trickling out of players going into the portal, walk-ons getting cut across the country because they had to get their roster size down. All these, it's happening everywhere. So most teams have about 120 players on their roster, sometimes a few more when you count the walk-ons, only 85 scholarships in the past. But like last year, Iowa State played 103 players with 85 scholarships because they had so many injuries last year, okay? So that it seems like a lot, but that's just the reality. So this year, because of this new law that might be going in, this house settlement thing, the rule is, okay, you can have 105 scholarships, but that's your roster limit. You can't have 25 walk-ons on your – you can only have 105 players in your football program. So the last week has been very trying for programs, players alike across the country who – the crazy thing is here, we're going to listen to what Matt has to say about it, is they don't know when the roster has to be trimmed down. Is that before the first game? Is that when fall camp opens? Is that halfway through the season? Nobody knows.
And they just kind of assumed that they were going to have to.
Correct, and they wanted to do it now so that these players could have a place to go play next season. Like, they're doing it, like, it sucks that they have to be cut, but you also, like, you're doing it for them. You don't want to cut them once the fall semester starts because then they're stuck on your roster. You're giving them the summer. Oh, I'm going to go play D2, right? Like most of these guys want to play football. So Matt Campbell was asked, I believe it was Ben Hutchins, Quad City, great young reporter, nice young man. And he basically asked about how hard all this has been. And Matt Campbell took the opportunity to let us know what's on his mind.
None of us get into coaching for those conversations. It's honestly, it's showing you where college football is today, and it's criminal, and it's sad, it's disappointing, and it's one of those things that is, when your real responsibility is development of the student athlete, no matter where that student athlete falls in your football program, that's what's really hard. And so a lot of things that you don't believe in and you don't stand for, and right now you just try to navigate your program the right way and help benefit kids. And the great thing is a lot of our young men that maybe were in a gray area, the 105, have already got themselves in some great situations. And I think the opposite of that is, man, there's some guys that maybe weren't on scholarship here that have already gained scholarships out there, and so you see the ability to help a lot of young men too along the way. So I think there's a reward of that. But really tough week, and really a week that you just you really sit and evaluate what are we really doing in our profession. So really unfortunate, really tough, trying times. I think what you're just trying to do is look out for the best interest of every kid in your program and their families. But it's hard when you don't know the rules, and the rules still aren't very clear. And, I think when you don't, you certainly have to prepare every young person for what could be the most extreme of the rules. And come on, it's April and we don't even know what the rules are for the next fall. That's the silliest thing I've ever heard of.
There was another clip in the press conference where he said what's going on is criminal.
He said it there.
Oh, okay, I missed that part.
He said the C word. And what you just heard from Campbell, if I'm an Iowa State fan, that worries me big time, because you heard him say some things that for the first time might lead you to believe that maybe he will start entertaining going to the NFL to get away from this, because this is not what he got into college coaching for. This is something that we've seen it time and time again, drive coaches away, early retirements, all that. I mean, you could tell this is really affecting Matt Campbell.
I think there were more clips in that, Chris, in the 27 minutes where he talked about it's why he's still at Iowa State, because he's able to still run the program the way he wants for the most part. But that is also changing. A good question by Travis Hines was in there about that. I want to just go off myself here because this whole thing is such a farce. This whole thing of these roster limits. So the reason they put in these stupid roster limits across the board is because they, like the NCAA, I was reading The Athletic last night, and there was a quote from one of these suits that the quote was, "We're creating more opportunities than ever before." And this is, remember when this all happened and we put the chart up, it was like, oh, well, wrestling, they used to only have 10 scholarships, and now they can have 25.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, the softball team, they can have 45 scholarships. So, but it's a farce. Nobody's actually filling those scholarships with these opportunities. You don't have to. The only thing you have to do is have the same amount for female athletes as male athletes. You're not creating anything more. You're actually limiting opportunity for people like these walk-ons who you're not paying, who just want to be a part of the team. They just want to, like maybe that the kid from Tipton is a diehard Hawkeye fan and running out in Kinnick Stadium. He doesn't even have to play. That's a dream come true for him. He's an Iowa Hawkeye the rest of his life. No, we're limiting that. You're limiting a lot more than you're actually creating. So it's a total farce. But again, Chris, and I have beat my head over a concrete wall for 10 years talking about this. This is college athletics screwed itself for the last 30 to 40 years. This reminds me of in our industry. This is in our industry where the newspaper industry refused to evolve because they were cashing so many checks from classified ads. It's just like, yeah, not as many people are reading print news, but we're still making all this money from these classified ads that we don't need to change. This is when you were at ESPN and you looked across the board and people are starting to slash cable everywhere. And ESPN didn't do anything different to go straight to the consumers because they were making so much money on these baked-in subscriptions at their hiked-up price, they didn't have to evolve. And this is exactly what the NCAA did in college athletics over the last 30 to 40 years. They could have looked ahead and seen all these lawsuits coming. Any lawyer, anybody worth a damn could see that coming. Most of these people in college athletics could, but the industry as a whole was so bureaucratic and slow. They're like a giant tortoise. They refuse to move anywhere. And now you have coaches like Matt Campbell. What are we, 4 months from the season? And they don't know the rules. And here's the best part. You can't even make it up. Matt Campbell has this press conference. I'm out coaching the Turtles last night. Check my phone in about the third inning. The whole thing blows up again. Where this judge now says, well, listen, this is unconstitutional. You can't have roster limits. And this judge, who presumably doesn't know anything about this. You want to know what's criminal, is that we have now put college athletics in the hands of Ted Cruz, Cory Booker, and these judges who don't know anything about what they are presiding over. We've completely screwed ourselves over the last 30 to 40 years by not taking the bull by the horn and doing something about it.
That's why I've never bought into this. Oh, once this House settlement goes through, we'll rein this in, and we'll only have to pay 21 million a year to these athletes. We'll no longer ask the fans for money. We'll get it figured out. No, who really thought that this was going to go through without a hitch? I mean, it was clear from the get-go when this thing kept being delayed and delayed and delayed and delayed that something here was going to happen. So I'm not surprised at all. But the bottom line is they're going to have to figure this out over the next couple weeks because you can't go to trial.
They'll get killed. If they go to trial, it's all over.
Yes.
Like now, Iowa and Iowa State football and like everything, they could go out of business if they go to trial. There's no way these conferences will let this get to trial. They're screwed. They can't win. They can't win in the trial.
What is the problem? Like, why can't, okay, she says there can't be roster limits, so let's not have roster limits. I think
what they're saying.
What's the big issue?
From what I'm reading, I think that this judge will be okay with roster limits in the future, but she wants it
phased in, yeah. But why is that a big deal?
All these guys already got cut.
So
this should have happened 3 months ago.
Well, but why can't they just say, all right, well, then we won't do it? And now we'll okay, they can still have 125 guys on the roster, and you can still have walk-ons. What's the big fucking deal? Why are they trying to limit the rosters?
They're trying to. I don't know all this stuff. Okay, I'm
like, how is that the one thing that's holding all this up? That seems very minor to me.
I think it's a facade. Like, this is their way of saying, like, hey, we're extending an olive branch, right? And we're going to offer more opportunities for young people across the board in these athletic departments, not just in the sport of football. Does that make sense? Because they're adding it up and being like, well, look at all these roster spots.
Who's extending the olive branch?
Which would be the defendants, in my mind.
See, this whole thing is so convoluted and confusing that, like, I don't even know who's trying to do what anymore.
Herky the Cat said that. Do we have a new Legends and listeners?
Yeah,
already?
Yep.
Okay.
I listened to it this morning.
I haven't heard it yet.
Yeah, it would be astronomical.
It would bankrupt everybody.
Doctorman said that if she doesn't sign the settlement and it goes back to court, it'll cost schools billions, with a B, billions of dollars, and it will. They can't do that.
No, it won't happen. There's too much at stake. And like the ironic part is, if it did go to trial, all it would do is screw every future. And that's my point with this. Is like, this is going to limit more opportunities for young people in the future than it is going to help them, no matter what these people say, no matter what they say, because this is good. Like, the last 3-4 years with all this money being tossed around has been good for like 10 to 20% of these players. It's been terrible for the other 80 that are now just basically collateral to the money. Because when it comes to true name, image, and likeness, most of these players don't have much value. They just don't. Like, people associate with the Tiger Hawk and Psy. Like, it's just a reality. Rocco Beck has a ton of value. You know, like Caitlin Clark had a ton of value. Like, there's these like pockets, but like the most of them, like name like Iowa State has a really good secondary, right? Most of those guys, you don't even know who they are when they walk by you in public. It's just they wear a face mask. Like, it's just hard.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't helping more student athletes. It's going to limit opportunities in the future. And that's what's so like delusional about this whole thing. Like, I don't give a shit how many softball scholarships there are going to be, because you're never going to fill them all. It's all semantics and just crap on paper to get through the courts.
Where this whole thing lost me right away was when it first came out and they stipulated that, well, and $2.5 billion of this is going to go to athletes from the last 5 years before NIL who weren't able to get paid on NIL. Like, what?
Yeah, I mean,
why are you? How can you do that? How can you?
All my buddies,
you open up that can of worms, you got to go all the way back.
Well, and that's why they don't want to go to court, because there was some sort of like, it was over a certain amount of years, and like the whole thing it's really disappointing. But I'm not surprised.
I'm not either.
You cannot just kick the can down the road. Again, this could have been people in college athletics, like smart people who are not immoral human beings, and they figured it out 20 years ago, and we would have had this all done. Instead, I cannot repeat this enough. We have left this for Ted Cruz and Cory Booker to figure out. That's fucking great. Well, I mean, that's genius. Let's let our politicians figure this out. It's unbelievable we are in this spot.
And the toothpaste is out of the tube. You've got teams that are spending $50 million on their football team this year, and you're going to try to say next year you only get to spend $21 million on your entire athletic department. Bullshit. That is going to open up all kinds of new avenues for cheating to try to get these players close to the amount of money that they're going to make this season. Like, you think that these guys are going to take monster pay cuts from one year to the next? It ain't happening.